fast forward to this. Now this is the second book, Drugs as Weapons Against Us. And I'd started in 1991 researching this, and as you can see, the subtitle is The CIA's Murderous Targeting of SDS, Panthers, Hendrix, Lenin, Cobain, Tupac, and Other Activists. And so, as I was researching the Black Panthers, in December of 1994, I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time. I'd started researching in Baltimore, moved down to Washington, D.C., and the Washington Post said, in another strange twist, the same police officers that came to Tupac Shakur's New York sexual abuse incident, where they charged him with sexual abuse, were the first to arrive when he was shot in this New York recording studio lobby. And so they said that's just one of the main, one of the many strange twists in his trial and police foul play situations in his trial. Now, they didn't list those different aspects of police foul play, but so I started, so as I was researching the Black Panthers and read about the counterintelligence program, particularly against Tupac's parents, who were, his mother was a one-time leader of the Harlem Black Panthers. I thought, are they targeting Tupac like they targeted his Black Panther family? And so I called his New York trial lawyer, Michael Warren, and he said, yes, they are. I believe they're targeting, with the new counterintelligence program, and nobody's writing about it. So we shared some of the same magazines that we both read, National Progressive Activist magazines. We talked about them and how I was going to try to put in this interview with him and in an article in one of those magazines. Sadly enough, most of those magazines were had white publishers who weren't ready to believe that Tupac Shakur was a serious activist. So I could only publish that article in a local magazine in Washington, local activist zine. And so it took me another 2 years before Covert Action Quarterly said they'd consider an article. I started publishing in Z Magazine, some other national activist magazines, and a Washington and New York-based magazine called Covert Action Quarterly had been started by some CIA whistleblower named Phil Agee. And so finally in 1998, they published this extensive article on the FBI war on Tupac Shakur and black leaders. And but of course Tupac was killed, and I argue assassinated in 1996. Now, let me go back to that original picture. Well, let me go forward a little bit. Actually, go to the next. So, let me see this. Okay, there we go. So, guys, now, if you did most of the people in here, did most of you guys see the movie All Eyes on Me? On Tupac?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, in that movie, I thought that movie did a good job of presenting a lot of information that you'll never see in a major motion picture. About Matulu's activism, about Afeni Shakur's activism, about the FBI targeting of them. That is not something you see often, and I'm really happy that they put that in there. They put in there one key fact, which is there's over 4,000 pages in your FBI file. Do you guys remember them saying that in the movie about Tupac? Mm-hmm. So that came from, I filed a Freedom of Information Act in May, actually in 1999, in May 2000, but a year after filing the Freedom of Information Act to get Tupac's FBI file, they got back to me in May 18, 2000. They actually got back to me a few weeks before that, and on the phone, the woman from the Justice Department said that I can't tell you how many pages they have in the file. When I asked her how many pages am I paying to get copied, she said, I'm not allowed to tell you that. So I kept talking to her, and finally she said, well, there's over 4,000 pages you have to pay for. And I was like, okay, well, thank you. And she says, and they cost 10 cents a page. I was like, all right, well, thank you. And we proceeded from there. So she sent me this letter saying, 405 pages, $405 that it costs to copy his whole FBI file. 10 cents a page, that's over 4,000 pages, of course. And that's where, we know that there's over 4,000 pages in that file. But, so this is what I finally got then, about 10 months after that, is the fact that we can only give you 99 pages of the 4,000. And even they were heavily blacked out. Even those 99 pages were heavily blacked out. And a few years later, they made those 99 pages, which were also censored, free for everyone to look at. But it was just absurd what they're hiding, in the FBI file on Tupac. And so now I'm going to tell you why there was so much on Tupac in that file. So now, in my book, part of my reason for writing this whole book is to educate the next generation. I'm 52 years old, whatever, and the next generation, doesn't care to read as much about Malcolm X as I think they should, about Martin Luther King, about Huey Newton. So I thought through Tupac, maybe they'll read about these other great leaders if they see it through that window. And it's befitting, though, because the Shakurs were the leading grassroots family in terms of activism. Sayyidin Abba Shakur was Malcolm X's close confidant. He had formerly been part of Marcus Garvey's group. Sayyidin's kids, Lumumba Shakur was the founder of the Harlem Black Panthers. Zaid Shakur was one of the founders of the Bronx Black Panthers. Mutulu Shakur, their adopted brother, founded the Republic of New Africa. Mutulu Shakur helped found Lincoln Detox in the Bronx. It was the first American-based, acupuncture treatment for drug treatment in the country. And then they trained treatment centers all over the country in using acupuncture for drug treatment. So these were the great leaders, the great Black liberation movement leaders and the great leaders in general for progressive causes, I argue.
That's right.
So hopefully through this book, people will learn more about them, and sadly, their targeting of by U.S. intelligence. Now, as I said, Afeni Shakur had married Lumumba Shakur. When Lumumba went to jail, she was elected, to be the Harlem Panther leader. She was then jailed also as part of the New York Panther 21, which was a big frame-up by the FBI's counterintelligence program. The FBI documents were stolen from an FBI office to show all that. We know all that. The Panthers had done such great community organizing, and I studied community organizing in grad school. They're considered the best community organizers in history. The American Indian movement modeled their organizing after the Black Panthers. The Young Lords, Latino version of the Black Panthers, modeled their community organizing after the Black Panthers. They had free breakfast programs, free political education programs, etc. Free housing education programs and housing rights and all that. They had a great newspaper. And so they were targeted by the FBI because the FBI, the history of the FBI and the CIA is so incredibly racist that they don't want any kind of movement like this starting up. I'm sorry. There we go. Now that's Lumumba Shakur, founder of the Harlem Black Panthers, who Afeni was married to. Sorry, that went backwards somehow. I don't know why. Go back